Stefano, what are the strangest languages you have learned?
Define strange language.
Hey guys, one more video here for you directly from the Polyglot Gathering in Poland Interaction this year 2022. Here we are with the legend, the man himself, Stefano Suigo, and he's a very experienced polyglot. He knows some very specific languages, and that's what we want to talk about today. So, Stefano, I know that you speak languages that not a lot of polyglots speak. They don't choose to learn those languages, like Finnish, like Georgian, like Icelandic, and some others. So let's start from the beginning. Which of these, let's say, alternative quote-unquote languages was your first language?
I think I started with Finnish. Yeah, it must have been Finnish. I needed a new challenge, a big challenge. So I decided to learn Finnish. Especially because I like grammar.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm a bit strange maybe, but okay, I'm a grammar freak, and I read about the Finnish language that it has a very complex grammar. So I wanted to tackle this challenge, and grammar was the thing that really interested me back in the days. I just fell in love with the language and with the culture also after learning the grammar.
Right.
So then I started.
So grammar was the sexy body, and then
Yeah.
and then
Right, exactly. And then I just wanted to discover more and more the culture as well, the country, the people. And that's how it went.
Okay. And then I know that you also, like I said, you learned Icelandic, you learned Georgian. How come you start learning these languages? You said you like grammar. This is the main reason for all of these languages, or do you have friends from these countries? How does it work?
No, grammar is not always the most important thing in a language for me. Actually, what really convinces me to start learning a language is the way it sounds. I think it's like music for me. So if I really like the way a language sounds, I almost feel the need to learn a language. That's what motivates me, what drives me the most. It's the way it sounds. And Icelandic and Georgian both sound in a very interesting way. It just I can't resist. It's like nice music for me.
Stefan, I know that you have a lot of experience studying very complex grammatical systems, like for example Finnish, Georgian. I've got some experience with Finnish. A couple of years ago, I started learning Finnish. How do you go about learning grammar? How do you tackle grammar?
Sometimes what I do is I try to give a sense even to structures that do not seem to make any sense. This happens especially with cases. Many people have struggle with endings,
Right.
because endings actually per se have no meaning, right?
Right.
But in my head, I try to give these endings a full meaning, even when they actually don't have any. And that's pretty much what I do.
Can you give an example for that?
And let's say that tomorrow we're going to start learning. Let's say, what is
Finnish or
Yeah.
Yeah, well, he speaks Finnish already. Let's say that
Okay.
tomorrow we are going to learn Mongolian. There we go.
Uh-huh.
What do we do?
Well,
What's
if
that?
I don't know how Mongolian works, but if there are endings that are used when you express where something happens, I will try to make that sound in my mind sound like a place, so that I can do the association.
Okay.
Whenever I hear that sound, like in Georgian, she. Whenever I hear she, for me, she means place.
Right.
Even though it doesn't, but it's the ending that you use to indicate a place where something happens.
How does that work? For example, how do you say Brazil?
Brasilia.
Brazil, and then in Brazil,
Brasiliash.
that's the that you put at the end of the word to indicate location. Got it.
Yeah, Tbilisi is the capital of Georgia. Tbilisi
Tbilisi.
in Tbilisi.
Italiashi.
Italiash.
Italiashi. There we go. Okay. So this is how
You
you
know
start.
how it works,
So this
right?
is how you start tackling grammar. Cool.
Right.
Okay.
So, out of all of these languages, which one was the hardest?
Ooh. The hardest. It's difficult to define what really hard means, but I think Georgian must be the most difficult language I have ever encountered, especially because of its verb system. It's extremely complex, and I haven't even started to understand how complex it is, to be quite honest. I don't speak Georgian fluently at all, but I have already had a glance of how deeply complicated the verb system is, and I think it's gonna take my whole life to actually get to a point where I can say, oh, I speak Georgian, you know. Yeah, absolutely.
And again, out of all these languages, what are the most interesting aspects of our grammatical structures that you've learned that you had never thought, wow, can this exist in a language? I can give an example. Recently I started learning Turkish, and in Turkish they have a separate past tense for things that you have not seen. So for example, if I want to say he has bought a car, I need to think, but wait, I've seen that he's bought a car, or someone told me that he has bought a car.
That exists actually in Georgian.
Wow.
We
Yes.
didn't know that. Was not scripted.
Of course you have that in Georgian.
They have a separate,
Yes.
separate tense.
Yes,
For,
yes.
Wow.
Turme, it's called turme, because turme means like something that you've heard.
Right.
Okay, and it's
But
called
you haven't witnessed.
yeah, exactly. You were not there. So if someone uses that that form, you know this person was not there when it happened. But so generally speaking, the thing that struck me the most probably is something that we have both in Georgian and in Finnish, and that is that sometimes the subject-object relation is not always like nominative and accusative,
Right.
but it can change. So you can use the nominative even for the object of something. So for yeah, absolutely. We have this in we kind of have this in Finnish, you know, but Georgian is full of this, and Georgian also has ergative, the ergative case. So if can I give you an example, guys?
That's what we're here for.
All right. If I see a dog now, the dog is in the accusative case,
Right.
has a certain form. But if I'm telling you guys that I saw a dog yesterday, the dog is no longer in the accusative case, it's in a nominative case, and I am in the ergative case. So even depending on the tense you use, the relationship between object and a subject changes.
That's in Finnish or in Georgian?
In Georgian.
Okay, wow, that's crazy.
I thought that you would use ergativity when if you have a transitive verb, then you have the change. But if it's an intransitive verb, for example, I went to the park, then I will be in a nominative case. I think most languages that have the ergative case work like that, but Georgian seems to differ. How
No, you're absolutely right. This applies only to transitive verbs, like to see, the example I gave you. If we're talking about going somewhere, coming from somewhere, you don't have ergative at all, even in the past.
Okay.
Yeah.
Aha. Okay.
So you have first to know what kind of verb you're using,
Right.
and then in which tense, etc.
And also, now that you mentioned Turkish, I know that Turkish has a very similar, not grammar, but the structure of Japanese, right? Like we've been struggling trying to learn Turkish, and you speak Japanese at a decent, a good level, I'd say. So how did you tackle that? How can you explain to us how should we tackle this with Turkish?
Oh, it's just a matter of repetition and repetition and repetition. You have to train your brain to put the verb at the end of the sentence, and actually every single element of the sentence is the other way around compared to our European or South American languages. So it's really just a matter of practice and practice and practice and repetition until your brain is expecting the verb to be at the end, is expecting everything to be the other way around. And then magically, it's almost magic, but one day you realize that it works in your mind, and you are able to express your ideas in that language.
Like Stefano said, like if you haven't studied Japanese or Korean or Turkish, if you think, okay, it's just the verb at the end, it's like German, but it's not like this at all. Like the whole sentence changes structure. You might have something like at the beginning, you might be able to change, like mish and mash a bit, but you have to just change how you think, how you want to express yourself. Because usually, I don't know, me in English, in Italian, in French, whatever, I start talking and I'm not completely sure where I'm going to get. Like I know more or less, but I say the words, I construct the phrases in my head as I go. Whereas in Turkish or in Japanese or in Korean, you kind of have to know the ending before you start, right?
Great point. Absolutely. That's exactly the way it is. And somehow you manage to get to the point where you start your sentence in the Japanese way. It's very strange, but it happens at a certain point. It clicks. It clicks in.
And this is what makes language learning interesting and fun, right?
Absolutely.
And guys, if you want to continue boosting your language skills, make sure that you keep following our channel.
Subscribe here, like the video.
We're gonna have more videos with Mítico Stefano Suigo, and well, keep watching.
Ciao.
Bye for now.
Ciao, ciao.